It's a great day to be a Coyote. Welcome, Coyote Nation, to another episode of Back to Back Podcast, where we are going to be bringing you all of your favorite games, memories, and of course, discussion with our fellow Coyotes. As a disclaimer, we have no affiliation to the University of South Dakota. This is a podcast ran by fans for fans. The ideas and comments do not represent the university. Our opinions are our own. Be sure to find us on Twitter at BackToPackSD. With that being said, let's jump in. Well, as you guys can tell, the game was much closer than I wanted it to be, just by the way I sound. But win's a win. We'll always take those in the postseason.
Say, that's right. When the playoffs survive in advance, that's all that matters.
That's right. That's right. Survive in advance, baby.
Mm-hmm.
The way my voice is going, I don't know how well it's surviving.
We'll get you back up to speed just in time for Saturday, and that's all that matters.
I tell you, if this follows the same way it did, I'm going to go buy my cough drops, my Ludens, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, get your
Ludens.
Yeah. Cherry. You got to go cherry because they're red.
Yeah.
Smart.
So when my tongue's hanging out, yelling at the opposing fan base, they see red. I tell you what, though, for the NDSU game, I didn't have my voice back properly until about Thursday afternoon. So I'm looking about the same time frame for this one. I felt about the same after leaving that game.
Yeah. I mean, it was like we talked about. I mean, that first half, I think we were all a little uncomfortable because we were just trading points, very limited possessions, but not quite what we thought. That we talked about it, in the preview show, of course, with that slow developing, mesh RPO that can give people fits, and I think it certainly gave us fits in the first half.
Yeah, for sure. And what's funny, talking about our predictions, score predictions from the preview show, we were all about right in terms of our points, but didn't give them enough points, which you just mentioned, kind of causing us fits in the first half. So Massey was actually the closest out of any prediction that I saw.
What was Massey's?
What was it, like 33-19, I think, and 14 points.
Yep.
So,
and hey, you make that field goal at halftime. There's your 14-point spread.
Yeah.
Right. That is true. A few missed opportunities, but but for the most part, both teams were pretty efficient. I don't want to jump the gun if we kind of want to walk through the game, of course. But yeah, both teams were pretty darn efficient, especially in that first half. I think we only had, like we said, 2.5 possessions, right? We had 2 long, sustained drives, and then just, I think, a minute 40 at the before halftime that we didn't really do anything crazy with, other than did try the field goal, right? But it it was a strange first half that I know most folks weren't real, like I said, weren't real comfortable going into halftime. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think we can go ahead and jump right into this if you guys want. Yeah, right away to start. I mean, did anybody predict anything different than an opening score by the opponent?
Nope. In fact, we talked about it on the preview show.
Exactly.
Right. We talked about, a combination of, we've done that. We've tended to do that before in general, but then also knowing that this offense is going to be something we've never seen before and extremely unique. That's probably going to take some time to settle in, which seems like that's exactly what happened. But yeah, right out of the gate, here they come, ready to rock and roll and score the first touchdown of the game, right?
Yeah. And, I mean, it's not like it was a shocker. They knew who their weapons were, and they went to them early and often. I will say I have a ton of respect. I had a ton of respect for Cooper going into this. I expected more out of the D-line pressure-wise, and that's where my thoughts were, not so much on the receiver. But Darius Cooper is going to be making some money on Sundays next year. He is a very talented receiver.
And he came in rated #1 receiver in all of FCS, and that was clearly on display, Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. And they went to Britain to really just keep things even. And they were both gashing us like crazy.
So I want to back up 1 second and just talk about that defensive line for a second and the lack of quarterback pressure. And that is really just it doesn't happen. It can't happen in in the way that you guys think of traditionally rushing the quarterback and trying to get QB sacks. You can't full out sell out to get to the quarterback in a traditional passing sense, because if you do, he's just going to hand off that RPO and the running back's going to squeak through. And once he gets through that first line, there's not a lot of defenders in the middle. You got one backer to beat and he's gone right up the middle. And it's because those wide splits, our defensive backs are so wide that they can't get to the middle of the field to help and run support quick enough. So you can't really full on sell out to rush the quarterback on any given down, unless it's like third and really long, right? And so that's just that offense is just so hard to defend, especially when you got two freaking studs, one at running back and one at receiver.
Yeah. And I tell you what, I've never pronounced his name correctly, but Gabalis?
Gabalis.
Right? Gabalis, thank you.
Yep.
He had the arm talent to make sure that it was okay that the receivers were as wide as possible. I was very impressed in his capabilities to deliver, not just downfield for the most part, especially in the first half, but to get it across the field. Hash it out of bounds. That's a long throw.
Yeah.
And so that's really where the biggest factor was.
I think you're right. And the more it seemed like that we watched that offense play, and as it kind of played out, we had heard about it, watched them play Drake, do some of those things, but it became pretty obvious too that to run that offense, you need a lot of key playmakers. You need an elite wide receiver, right? Or at least some very good wide receivers. You need for sure an elite running back to do kind of what Mitch is talking about, is if we're going to give it off late, you need somebody who can break tackles, sneak through seams, do all those things. And then lastly, you need a quarterback who has a ton of arm talent, because when he does decide to throw, it comes out immediately. There's no waiting once he's made his decision, right? It's once those arms are up, they're already in motion to throw. So
and there's
very unique.
Yeah, and there's no like drop back, right? Because they're already in the shotgun. He rides the running back for like a yard. It's that long delay, and then it's just his feet are already planted, and it's just literally like swinging the hips and throwing that ball as quick as you can.
Yep. I think, what frustrated me the most, though, in college, there's really a strong side for the quarterback of which way they want to throw, whether it's to their left or to their right. Obviously, it depends on their dominant hand more than anything.
Right.
And the one thing I did watch is, he went to his dominant side on his throws. And it was frustrating watching our corners give space to the receivers. And I think what was missing in that first half was getting up and jamming on their routes.
Yes.
That's really where I think it's important. And especially if you can drive Cooper out of bounds, obviously putting our corners in one-on-one situations, especially against Cooper, is a very tall task in that situation, because safeties are coming downhill to help more than likely, and now you're one-on-one on an island. You better win. It just seemed like we were a little soft on the coverage sometimes, and it was very quick to deliver that ball when we were.
So, yeah, exactly. And what I noticed is on first down, they're running it, and they were getting 4 to 5 yards a pop in the first half on that first down run. And then on second down, they would run like that 6-yard hitch, because we were sagged off 10 to 12 yards on the outside. They would just run that 6-yard hitch, get that first down, get 6-8 yards, keep those chains rolling, and they were just marching down the field on us.
Yeah, none of their drives were. They had some down in the 7-minute or 7-play drives, but they had a lot of double-digit drives, which is shocking, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's we noticed that a lot too, is that we seem to be in that first half really comfortable playing off. And I don't know if that's just we wanted to get a look at this offense. We wanted to not give up a enormous play right away. Deep shot. I don't know what it was, but that seemed to change the second half. We got way more aggressive with our DBs, and obviously 3 picks to show for it, which was great. But even on some of those shorter routes, guys were closing a lot quicker than we were in the first half. So I know I'm certainly, I'm pretty certain anyways that that's the kind of a strategy went into it, to say, hey, let's see what we're going to get here. Maybe understand we're going to give up some points early, but then really kind of lock this in. So, the first half was interesting. Those drives were a little bit painful to watch, because you're right, they're just kind of chunk plays, nothing too crazy.
Yeah, and I just want to say too, I think in the second half, Jake mentioned, getting up there and jamming them, that was the difference too. And I think the other thing we changed was one less linebacker. and one more coverage corner, DB, whether that was a nickel corner or another safety or whatever. But we got some other help in the secondary, whereas I think in the first half we were playing more that run. But I think our defensive line was doing a good job stopping that run with just one linebacker. So I think that was the other change too in the second half. We had one more person in coverage.
Well, and it was funny enough to watch too. And with the second half, we switched. It wasn't base by any means, but we did switch to a kind of a 3-3-5 defensive setup. And
Yeah.
Grace was our middle linebacker. I love watching him because it's kind of a where's Waldo situation out there. And it's just the team trying to put your playmakers in the opportunity, a place to make a play. And, Grace, I think, did a fantastic job. His job was just spy. And if the ball went to the running back, find the hole and shoot. But if it was where the quarterback kept, he kind of stepped back and then played a little bit of a QB spy / blitzing linebacker.
Right.
I tell you what, though, guys, had I told you that at the end of the game we didn't allow them to punt once, how would you feel about the score?
Not
we
good.
punted twice.
Right. I was just gonna say that. Yeah. If you would have told us at the beginning of the game, hey, you're about to play a team and they're not gonna punt, you just assume that you just got a butt whooping up and down, right? But on the flip side, that if you would have also told me, hey, they didn't punt, but you guys had 3 turnovers, I would go, ooh, okay, maybe I kind of like that. I like that idea. So, that was kind of nice to see, right? That's something that we've been talking about, is that this defense has been good all year, but we just don't seem to force turnovers. So finally seeing that come to fruition was good. I'd like to see that continue for, of course, this week, is to force a couple turnovers if we can on another ultra high powered offense that's going to be coming to the dome. But yeah, those are fun to see, good to see. But I feel like we did with the strategy we use. I feel like we kind of, I don't want to say earned it, but we really did from the first half to the second half. We got more aggressive, went after the ball. So it did feel like those turnovers were earned. And to that point, that quarterback was not afraid to throw it. And like we said, when you have a guy like Cooper, why not? He had for sure 3 catches that I would say 90% of wide receivers in college football are not catching the ball, where you just literally looked up and you're like, wow, that's a.
And they were critical situations.
Critical, yes. In all of them were very
down.
Critical. Yep, always third down. And of course, right, like any good quarterback knows, like when in doubt, I'm going to throw it to my best player and give him a shot. And he answered the bell every time. So I would say, not to overstate it, but I think Cooper's probably, I want to say, the best wide receiver I've seen live. I think at the Dome.
So
for sure in the last 5 years, but maybe maybe ever. It's they're super impressive.
That's what I was going to say. So we spent 20 minutes on the preview show last week giving them the flowers, and there was a reason we did that, right? And so that I will go so far to say that that's the best wide receiver that's ever been in the Dome that we've faced. And a couple of those catches you guys mentioned, that sideline one was absolutely ridiculous.
Yes.
Where he kind of mossed Reed there and got 1 foot down right on the edge. But I will say this, for as much as they went to him, I think he had 160 yards, 3 touchdowns. As much as it went to him, though, I tell you what, Mike Reed and the guys who were lined up across from him, they battled. And Mike Reed ended up getting the last laugh, because he did finally get an interception where he jumped that route and tipped it to himself and got the INT. But so kudos to those guys, because it's demoralizing when you're getting beat, and those guys didn't give up. They just kept fighting, one play at a time. Just forget what happened, just keep playing, and they did. And that was probably the most, I guess, one of my favorite things to see in this game was just how we just kept battling, regardless of what just happened. They just kept battling, just kept fighting until the very end.
And speaking of battling, this is something I find really cool as a fan to watch. There's always the stories behind the field, behind the team going on. We all know last year, this game, we lost Shaheed. Blew out his knee right away to start, really. Like, he didn't get to play much against Sac State, and then obviously he was out for the rest. But for him to come in, I know the post routes have been kind of a disaster for him this season, but for him to come into this game, battle, and get his first pick of the season really is a huge testament to this kid. He's been through hell and high water for USD, and to see him get his is something special.
Oh, huge moment for him and the team. And, I was going to say too, you bring that up. You think about the timing of that. When that happened, we were like, I don't know, 5-6 minutes into the third quarter. We were down 21-14 at half, and we came out with the ball and I think we went 3 and out and punted.
Yep.
And that was their first possession, I think, after the I don't know if it's first or second possession, but they got the ball back and they could have went up, 14 points on us really, really easily. And so the fact that when that happened, guys, I'm telling you, that's when the entire the game script as far as trading points, both defenses finally got to stop because they stopped us and then we stopped and we get that INT. That's when momentum shifted. So I would probably say that's probably the key play of the game was that play, because the tide turned at that point.
That was a season saver.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about it not only on Saturday, but right before he jumped on, right? It's like, and Bob recognized it too, right? Even in game, he talked about it in his presser that first interception is where he felt like the energy in the dome changed.
Yeah.
The crowd really got behind the defense. We needed something to spark something. And yeah, I agree with you from there. That really felt like it. I would say stopping them from a field goal on that particular drive too, that felt really good. And it felt like that was a really important moment where we needed to not let them score a touchdown on that drive as well. I think it was 28-28 at that time, and that still put them ahead. But that really felt, that felt like a good spot. And it was actually funny. My buddy who was sitting next to me, he played college football as well. But after that field goal, we're on their side and kind of behind their sideline. And he just looks down. He goes, "Man, that does not look like a team that's up 3." He goes, "They look tired. They look like they're struggling." And I think they felt that momentum shift as well in those two spots. And so that's huge. That's a testament again to the USD fans and home field advantage and how important that is in playoffs.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that the travel factor, right? Because they had one extra game and then they have the travel, and then you've got our crowd, and so that's just a culmination of things, and us pounding on them all game long. They finally just they were kind of wore out, like you said, and we outscore them 21-3 in that final quarter.
Yeah, so with it, I just want to say I remember on that field goal, I leaned over to my wife and I said, "This game." Like, you could just feel it. And I think this is the perfect time to bring it up. I want to give a kudos to Coyote Nation. The dome has been absolutely electric. Really, I feel like we're finding our groove too as the season progresses. We're kind of molding with the team. You know what? You were standing for pretty much the entire game. Third down happened a lot in the first half. You put in your efforts on it. Obviously, we weren't rewarded on our own efforts for the team. They converted pretty much every third down they had. But that pick erupted. And like Grant said, I watched the OLC coaches corner today. And Coach Nielsen said that he heard us through his noise canceling over both ears headphones. And then another third down came up, and it was that goal line stand to kick the field goal, and we erupted. The place was rocking. We never gave up on any of the defensive drives along with it, and the team feeds off of this. They absolutely love this.
Oh yeah.
So
kudos to you guys. I can already see the tickets are flying for UC Davis.
I was just about to give that plug. The tickets are flying. I was not being sarcastic. I think there's already as many tickets moved today as there was probably Thursday of last week. So I expect an even bigger crowd. I think, like you said, the crowd's kind of finding their groove to where it gets loud, and not just sometimes. It's loud at the most critical times. That just makes it so much more fun for everyone. Like, literally everyone in the building is having more fun when everybody's more into the game, when the stakes are highest,
Mhm.
and the stakes only get higher every single week. So I know this is a recap show, but I'm so excited for Saturday. It's going to be great.
The players want it. We're
Yeah.
7-0 in the dome.
Mm-hmm.
The first few,
Yep.
they were coastable ones. Southern Illinois was a ranked opponent. We kind of had a good feeling that it should be a blowout, but you guys started showing up there, and it just kind of kept going. And I'll be honest, I don't know if we win the NDSU game without the fans.
Oh,
Oh
I
yeah.
agree.
I don't think
Like-
so. On a neutral field, I don't think we win that game. Absolutely not.
Or beginning of the season fans, we don't
Yeah.
win that without them
Mhm.
or with them. You already got me looking at the ticket website again. I've been on here like 4 or 5 times today.
It's good.
Yeah, the
It's good.
corners
It's good to
suck.
stock that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. The corners do suck. When you look at the map, it always does. I'm actually not a huge fan of those seats over there. I've wandered over there, but they're filling up over there.
Yeah. No, but that is fun. It's the energy was good, and like I said, I really do. I think the energy is going to be cranked up, 2-3 times what it was on Saturday, this coming Saturday. So, I got us way off course there. I'm so jacked for Saturday. Anyways, one thing I meant to say this because I wrote this down earlier. We were talking about Cooper, but we do need to talk about Britton a little bit for Tarleton because he was a guy that I thought it was going to be a factor in all things considered. I thought we did a great job holding him.
Oh yeah.
86 yards on 24 carries, averaging 3.6, no touchdowns. And Mitch, you brought it up. His longest run of the day was 8 yards.
Yeah.
I didn't go back and dissect each of their games. I'm willing to bet that's probably his least efficient game of the year, if I had to guess. I could probably look it up.
It's got to be because he was at like 1,900 yards coming in, so he was probably getting about $150, 150 yards a game on average.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even more than that, actually. Yeah, to hold him to that, and that was the thing, right? So I mentioned in the first half on that delayed handoff that he was getting 3, 4, 5 yards a pop. In the second half, even with the lighter box from our defense, he was only getting 2 or 3 yards. That average was actually dropping as the game went on, which is damn impressive to see.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Baylor did keep him to 68 yards, but other than that.
But Baylor also allowed 5.2 yards a carry.
There you go. That's true.
That's
true.
The most important stat to look at. 3.6 yards. Yeah, I mean, you give the ball to him 3 times, he gets a first down every time, kind of thing.
Right.
But
right,
3.6, anything under 4, you're doing a fantastic job on a starting running back. And what was he nation's number 1, or did he end up number 2 now?
He was 2.
Okay.
But yeah, and nothing explosive, right? Like no 30, 40 yard.
That's the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where the higher average comes into play at. Because I'll be honest, Tice's numbers looked horrible until the last couple drives, and then he started getting 10 yards a carry, 12 yards a carry, and it shot him well up over 5 yards a carry. And that's really, always the goal: 5 yards a carry.
Yep.
And
that's
can't be as good as my boy though at 70 yards a carry.
Yeah. The one thing that you just mentioned it too is, and Mitch, you mentioned it as well, but it really seemed like Tarleton really ran out of gas in the fourth quarter, and that's really where we got to kind of impose our will with our giant O-line, the running game, the just get under center and pound it down your throat. That was fun, right? That's where you felt and you go, okay, this is it. And then of course, what do? We say, hey, we got you right where we want you. We're just going to run this thing down your throat, run out the game. Nope. Actually, we've got one of the fastest guys in the country. We're going to give it to him in reverse to go 70 yards and really just blow the top off the dome for the end of the game. So that was great to see, because I think we're going to have to input that strategy again next week. Of that, it's going to be 2 offenses that are going to be going at it. They're both going to be tired at the end of the game, but one is going to have to find a way to just really take over the game, impose that will, and I think we have all the tools to do that again. So that was really good to see, and a lot of hands on the hips from the boys in purple at that point.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, right? Is that they had Texas speed, but they didn't have Missouri Valley size. And
Yep.
we really started to impose our will, especially late in that fourth quarter. I was looking back at Sam Herder's tweets, live tweeting during the games, and he noted that us and NDSU were both down by, I don't know if it's 14. I think they were down by like 14 at one point.
Yep.
And people were tweeting at him saying, "Let's go, keep this going. Let's knock these two teams out." And he replied, "Typically, the physicality factor, the team with the most physical guys and the biggest guys typically win in these games." And that was like I said, that was like in the first or maybe second quarter that he tweeted that, and that's exactly what happened. Both us and NDSU just kind of ended up outpowering them and just having more dudes.
And think
I
about
will
it.
tell you, I'm nerdy enough that I go back and rewatch games. I really am, and because I like to see what the announcers say. Usually it's Jay. Obviously, everybody loves listening to Jay and Andre, but now you get actual ESPN commentators coming in, and I can't remember what the one gentleman's name was, but he played offensive line, and he kept saying it. USC's O line looks like an FBS. The other one would chime in and say, "Yeah, it doesn't look like, or it looks like it would belong. Heck, not even just in the FBS, but NFL. These are big dudes, and they're moving." And finally, at the end, when it was Karan's run, actually, he said, "That is an FBS line out there moving those dudes, and this is what you're supposed to do with them," or something along that line.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, what are we? 6'5", 310 average across the board. I mean,
Yeah,
we got some. And
Yeah,
those guys are.
They
Those guys
pulled up
are
a graphic.
dominant.
They pulled up a graphic during the game because I went back and watched a little bit of it too, Jake. And they pulled up a graphic that just showed like size, height and weight of our line, and it's like 6'5", 315 ish for everybody, right? It's a huge line, which that's been something we've worked at for a long time, right? Because I always joked about when we first entered the Valley and we would play NDSU, you could fit, just the
See
eyeball
it.
test, you could see it and go, oh boy, we're just outmatched physically, right? And those days are long gone now. Those don't exist. But on that same point, Mitch, like the thing that's going to help us as we continue through this playoff is that those physical games, and we get to stay at home. Like this week, we're staying at home. That's so good for us, just recovery wise. You're not having to jump on a plane and try to get from California to Vermillion, right? Which is no easy task. And so all those things really come into play. And you made a good point. I think Tarleton felt that a little bit too, because again, that's a long trip for them. And by the end of that game, I think they were ready to go home. They were tired.
Yeah, I think it just becomes a war of attrition, right? And that's the playoff. The playoffs are such a gauntlet, and you've got the travel factor. It's no longer really regionalized, especially at this stage in the playoffs. Those regional matchups are gone, so it's a war of attrition at this point. It's just who can outlast the other.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
exactly
right.
Well, and the team wasn't the only ones wore out by travel. Mitch, it sounds like you dealt with some cranky temper tantrums over in your sideline.
You want to talk about their fan? You want me to talk about their fans for a second?
Just give us a couple stories.
Cliff Note version.
All right.
Yeah.
So
how'd that Tarleton State sign go?
Oh my God. So for those that don't know, I sit in the front row of H, which is the visitors section. And with not as many USD fans in H, that game, I was surrounded by some Tarleton fans to my right, and definitely above me, obviously in the upper half with their band, and they had the 10 or 15 guys dressed as cowboys, and then their cheerleading squad in front of me down below on the field. So for a couple things. First thing, they booed during our entire intro while we do our walkout. And then as we run out, onto the field, they booed. And then as soon as it got quiet, after our crowd got done cheering the run out, they started a chant, "South Dakota sucks." And that lasted probably, I don't know, a minute or two. And then during the game, I'm hearing some stuff about the officials, which is, that's typical, whatever. All fans are going to complain about the officiating at times. But at the end of the game is where it really got dicey for me. So at the 2-minute timeout, we had pretty much iced it. We had gotten a first down. I think we needed one more first down at that point to kill the clock. So I unroll my Tarleton is not a state sign, and I'm holding it up during the 2-minute timeout and basically the last 2 minutes of the game. And I know some folks in our crowd got pictures of it from across the way on the west side. Got pictures of me holding it up.
Yep.
And so I'm still holding it up at the end of the game, and they do the handshakes and stuff, and then the players start slowly coming over. And typically the away team will also do their fight song, whether they win or lose, which this year obviously we're 7-0, so it's been a lot of sad faces over there from the away team. And they still do their fight song, and I was still holding the sign. And I was about to pack up, and here comes a lady behind me. I didn't even know she was coming. She just ripped the sign right out of my hands from the row above me, and it was gone. Um, and I turned to look. I'm like, what just happened? I turned to look. She's walking away, and I holler at her, and I just say, "Safe travels home." And she gets back to her seat, and I turn and look at her again, and she flips me off. Um,
You should have
and
said
then
something along the
and
lines of,
then
"My daughter made that sign."
so and then after that happens, we're just about to go at this point, and down comes a guy from they're up in the upper part of H. He comes down, he gets in my face. He's standing in the row above me, and he taps me on the shoulder. He gets in my face, and he's flat out just yelling at me. He's like, "Oh, we're Tarleton, and we're in Texas, and Texas is a state." Like, the joke of my sign went way over his head, guys. Like, I wasn't even gonna argue with him. He was spitting in my face, like he was slobbering on me as he's yelling at me. He's like, "I'm gonna whoop your ass," and all this stuff. And I'm just like, calm down, dude. And my brother-in-law standing next to me, he's like, "Come on, chill out, just calm down. It's a joke or whatever." And he goes on for like another, I don't know, it feels like a minute, but it was probably like 15 seconds in all reality. And he's getting real upset. Like, I'm like, I'm gonna get punched. And I'm not saying anything except for relax and calm down. And I go to turn to face the field, and he just goes like this and just bloops my hat with his hand, knocks it off my head. It goes flying onto the field. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, what kind of rodeo clown are we dealing with here? Um, just their fan base, in my opinion. I know you guys don't sit over there, so you guys don't get to experience this, but like, their fan base is trash, as far as I'm concerned. Like, and I know it only takes a couple bad apples to ruin it for the bunch, but like, they're trash. They're clowns. They don't know ball. I have a lot of respect for their team, and I gave it to them, in the preview show. I gave it to them in this show. But yeah, their fans are something else. Probably some of the worst fans I've ever seen in the dome, quite honestly. And I know they take football seriously, and they clearly were triggered by my sign that was very non-malicious. That really set them off. So yeah, that's my story. But one of their
That's
male
hilarious.
cheerleaders actually did pick up my hat and toss it to me, so that was nice.
That was awesome. Well, see, it's the
That was
student
that was
athletes.
not the Cliff
Those are the
Note
good
version,
ones.
but I really like that.
He got
There you go.
heated.
It's yeah, I was walking out
Oh.
there. The adrenaline was flowing after that, because I really wanted to say something. I could have done something way worse, but I held back. So
Hey, I'm really glad you're here on the show with us without a black eye. I think that's good
right,
for us.
right. And this guy was in his 50s, guys. I'm telling you, he was, probably mid to late 50s, maybe even early 60s, like way older, and should know better to get somebody's face after a game and
So you
start
might have had a
talking
chance to
crap.
take him.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I would have been way faster than him.
He's way faster.
Yeah, I would have ducked and then got him.
Oh God.
Oh, that's hilarious. I will say,
That's it. That's all I got.
Oh, I thought Jake was about to say something. I think we lost him. I think his headphones died. No, that's okay. We'll thank you for sharing that. That was really entertaining.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
But I think what we should do, let's shift to, I guess, kind of the USD, right? We talked a little bit about USD, but maybe we talk about players of the game or keys of the game, whatever you want to kind of hit on. But I'll let you, whoever wants to start off with, who you think kind of key moments of the game or player of the game. We can kind of do them both together.
yeah, I think it's easy. It's been easy all season, really. I know we try to jump around and give praise to everyone just so everybody can be involved in this. But I'm going to take the easy one. And this one all comes down to Tice being able to grind this one out
Oh yeah.
to close up the game. His final drive, not the final drive after Cron's touchdown, was huge. He touched the ball 3 times and he got 30 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Close out the game. He went 24 for 130 and 3 touchdowns. I mean, they were making nicknames for him during the show, calling him Travis Thrice up there. Yeah, it was rolling.
That's good.
USC isn't where we're at without him, and so I'm just gonna give him as much praise as possible because we're rolling because of him.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah, Mitch, you can go next. I'll go last on this one.
So, oh man, obviously Tice is number one in this game, and I had mentioned that I thought Pierre was going to go off in this game. It ended up being Tice again for the second game in a row. He absolute animal. Like I tweeted this, guys, and I know you guys saw it, but he's on a different level right now. Like he is, you can tell that he is on an absolute mission to win us the Natty, and it's no joke. And you know,
This
and
is all
we've
willpower.
yeah, I mean, we've seen him. I mean, we've seen him for years now do this, but I'm telling you, he just looks different. He's running harder. He can just tell he's on a mission. So, yeah, absolutely, Tice. For me, I'm gonna go Aiden, just
Mhm.
because another very efficient day. He made all the throws. You know, you see him at the line making checks. You know, changing the play and stuff like that. So I'm going to go Aiden again, just because he continues to lead this team and lead the offense and really just does everything that's asked of him. You know, he didn't put up super sexy numbers in this game, but he didn't have to, you know, and but the throws that he needed to make, he did. And I think one of his touchdowns actually was on that reverse. I think it goes in the books as a
It was a
or
touchdown.
it might have been on the Carter Bell. It was one of those where that goes in the books as a passing touchdown on that reverse because of the way the ball's thrown. Is that might have been on Carter
Yep.
Bell's.
I think, as I say, I think Carter Bell's,
It was
because I
Carter
wondered
Bell's.
the same thing. Carter Bell's was a pass, and Karan's was not. It was a run. Yeah.
Because the Carter Bell one is a pitch forward, so that's counted
Mhm.
as a pass, whereas the other one was a reverse from Keandre to Adams there, I think, or maybe
Right.
not,
Yep.
or maybe
So,
that was an Aiden one, but anyway, yeah. So he had one of his touchdowns was actually not a true passing touchdown. The only true passing touchdown he had was on the absolutely bananas play that Hayden Erickson wasn't able to secure, and Keandre comes sliding in and saves the day, and that was the one of the Sports Center top 10 plays, which I thought was absolutely awesome. But yeah, I'm going Aiden for all those reasons.
So I do want to bring us up before we jump into Grant's. What quarterback have you ever seen set an edge on an end around play?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he did get it
did.
out.
You
didn't
did.
he?
I mean, obviously he doesn't have the opportunity to run over four dudes like Tice does. Tice is going to get the touchdowns, especially when we're at within the 5-yard line. It's how the offense rolls.
Yep.
But I mean, we're not where we're at without Aiden either.
Right.
Yeah, that just to piggyback off your comments. I mean, I had Aiden as well, but like he's at this point in the season where he is as comfortable and cool, calm, collected, whatever you want to say. But like you see him come up pre-snap, post-snap, like he is in such a good rhythm now that he has just taken what, we talk about a lot, but talk about guys taking full command of the offense. He truly has that right now. I feel confident him making any play, adjustment or pre-snap adjustment. The coaches obviously are giving him, I don't know if it's quite full autonomy, but pretty darn close, it seems like, at the line of scrimmage to make changes and make calls. So that's just incredible to see, because that was not, I don't think that was the case early on in the year, right? We've been good all year, but I don't think he's had this level of confidence and command of the offense like he has right now at this point in the year. So, which is bad news for opposing defenses, because he's ultra efficient. And to your comments on Travis, I think that's a term that gets overused a lot, where they're talking about a single player like willing a team to victory, but he certainly seems to do that. Like he legitimately looks like, I'm going to win this game. Are you guys coming with me or not? Right. And and he does it every play. It's not just we need you here. It's every single time he touches the ball, right? There's no plays off for him. So,
and he had like 4 catches too, I think, for, I don't know if it was like 50, 60 yards. He had that sweet sideline catch early on in the game.
Yeah. 4 catches for 40 yards. So, he was all over the place for sure. So, I mean, those two players obviously stand out. The two that I wanted to, or that I kind of had written down as other names that, maybe you quick take a look at the box score right away and don't jump out at you. But I mean, Karan Adams, his, although it was just one play, he did have another catch for 21 yards, but he had the game sealing, send everybody home happy play. And I kind of mentioned that last week. I was like, I think he's due for, I thought a long pass because they love to play man coverage. I thought we could get in a one-on-one matchup and over
and
the
it
top.
was there too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love seeing that. I love how creative now at this point in the year, we know that we have so many different playmakers in so many different spots. And now it's just a matter of how do we get those guys involved? And I think we're doing that so efficiently now with so many other folks. Not to glaze over, but Charles Pierre had a very efficient day as well. He just didn't have as many carries. So he was 9 for 80 yards, 8.9 yards a carry, which is great. Love to see that as well. But the one player that I wrote down, which is like, this is way out of left field, but LJ Phillips, he played a ton of snaps at fullback on Saturday.
With the two running backs in the backfield, you're right.
Yes.
He took Tice's spot.
Yes, talk about
their Charles Pierre,
exactly. Talk about an unsung hero is a guy that, quite frankly, doesn't show up in the box score, but he had a ton of snaps at fullback, and as we know, when we're running the ball in offense, it is critical that whoever's in that fullback position has to be on top of their game because it's so critical in that run game, and he nailed it. So I think we'll see more of LJ on Saturday. I'm certain of that. But Bob also seemed to be very pleased with him and his performance on Saturday. So big shout out there.
Do you think the reason they're doing that is to save Tice? I mean, rather than putting Tice and Pierre both back there?
I mean, yes, that's a bowling ball being thrown at him, but now not only are you having a bowling ball go out and block, now you have a bowling ball running behind that bowling ball.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get a strike pretty much every time you throw two balls down the alley at one time. So you should feel pretty good about that.
Damn.
Yeah, I think it is too. I think it's especially too in a game where it feels like we kind of trade series with, Pierre and Tyson. We kind of maybe gravitate toward who has the hot hand or who kind of feels, who's kind of feeling it that day. So for Tice to be lined up more running back to get LJ involved at fullback, I think that's definitely a strategy. But that was interesting. That was the most interesting thing to me on Saturday. Is just that's something we haven't seen. We've seen it before, but not that many reps. But
right.
You don't know how happy you're making me.
That's a good call out.
He's my boy, LJ. I'm so excited for his future, and so to see other people take notice of him makes me feel good too on this.
That's awesome.
But I do want to. One last thing I want to say about Karan's run. I don't think I've ever seen somebody get juked so hard that they fell in 4 different directions.
Yeah, I was saying that to one of my buddies. I've never seen anybody scorpion vertically. That was nuts. I mean, if for anybody listening, if you go back and look at the replay, watch poor number 2 for Tarleton. That guy literally gets juked out in 4 different directions. It's a tough scene for him, but man, oh man.
How did he? I mean, he looked like he glitched. Like, how is he? Like, how is he able to walk after that? Because his body contorted all kinds of weird ways.
Unreal. No, I'm excited. Things are rolling. Feels like a lot's clicking. Obviously, I'm going to say this. I'm okay with us having that kind of game defensively to start the playoffs because it's a good lock-in opportunity. Kind of, okay, yeah, just because we're number 1 or number 2 in the nation doesn't mean we can't just show up and go through the motions. We have to do it. That was a very weird offense that we will never see again.
Right.
So I'm okay with it. It's a good film learning session.
Yeah, I'm not worried. I'm not losing sleep over that. In fact, you could probably just get rid of that tape because it's irrelevant at this point. And if you think about it too, we got punched in the mouth in the first half with them scoring 21 points on that defense. And what did they do in the second half? They came out and responded with 3 interceptions, held them to 10 the rest of the way, and 3 in the fourth quarter when our offense was able to score 21. So, those interceptions really were the absolute difference in this game, because they were scoring pretty much every single drive. And so you take away potentially 21 points there with those 3 interceptions. I mean, that's absolutely huge. So in my mind, the interceptions were the difference. In a game of 2 absolutely, you couldn't get any further apart on the spectrum in terms of offenses, right? 2 contrasting styles, kind of a ground and pound versus whatever the hell that was with the RPO.
Slow mesh RPOs.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can't get the stop, just go get the turnover, right? That's
Exactly.
that's another good way to get the stop. So
Exactly.
Perfect.
but well, good. Quick, I was gonna say wanted just a quick plug for Thursday's show. Kind of a unique one for us. We're gonna have the guys from I believe it's Aggie Pride is UC Davis's podcast. They're gonna join us for a segment here on Thursday. So make sure to tune in for that. I think it'll be interesting to see their analysis of kind of what UC Davis brings to the Dome next week. But that is a really, really, really good football team coming to the Dome. We're also a really, really good football team, so don't let me scare you like I think we're outmatched. But I think I said it about a month ago. I said there was 5 teams that can contend for a national title this year. It's us, UC Davis, NDSU, SDSU, and Montana State. So in my mind, this is really an elimination game of a natty contender on Saturday. So should be a lot of fun. I'll be interested to hear what they have to say too. But just wanted to throw that plug in there.
Yeah, no, and that's a great plug. I will say for everybody that's watching live with us, be sure to like and subscribe. And actually, if you go through, you can actually have it set up to send you notifications when our next show is popping up. So you can hear that, get it right away. I know most of you do follow us either on Twitter or Facebook anyways, but it's always a little extra reminder. Mitch, you got anything else you want to add?
No, I was going to say on that note, I think it's that little bell icon. I think if I remember right,
Yep,
to
that's
hit
correct.
that to get the notification when we go live, it'll pop up on your phone. So yeah, good call out there. We appreciate everybody.
Let's do it. Hey, everybody have a great night. Go Yotes.
Go Yotes.